Hello everyone and welcome to another game from the Superbet Chess Classic, this time from round 5. It's Fabiano Caruana versus Shakhriyar Mamedyarov, and I don't want to spoil anything, but this may very well be the only decisive game of the round, or it may not. You'll have to check it out and see. And it's incredibly interesting as Mamedyarov plays the Petrov Defense, and we all know that Fabi prepared the Petrov Defense for his 2018 World Chess Championship match against Magnus Carlsen, and he knows the intricacies of the opening in and out. So let's just enjoy what happened here. So Fabi has the white pieces and he opens with e4. Like we said, e5, knight to f3, and Mamedyarov goes for the Petrov with knight to f6. We have knight captures on e5, going for the classical variation. Knight to d6, challenging the knight, knight to f3, and the knight captures on e4. And now Fabi goes for d4. This is the classical attack against the Petrov, and it is I believe, the most played line against the Petrov. We have d5, bishop to d3, bishop to e7, and here we have castles. Bishop to f5 now, and rook to e1. We have castles, and now knight b to d2, putting more pressure to the knight on e4. So just knight back to d6, offering a trade of light square bishops, knight to f1, and here Mamedyarov trades. We have captures, and now c6, strengthening the d5 pawn, bishop to f4, and now knight to a6. We have h4 by Fabi, and knight to c7 now. We have knight to g5, already threatening checkmate, and Mamedyarov defends with g6. And now the position has been reached before. For example, Wesley So had it against young Krzysztof Duda, where knight to e3 was an attempt in that game. That game ended in a draw. But here we have knight to h2. Preparing to remaneuver the knight, and it's still not a new move. There is a game where f6 was played last year in the FIDE Grand Swiss between Ante Brkic and Maxim Matlakov. That game ended by Brkic winning. So f6, even though it's amongst the engine recommendations, it's not the absolute first one. Mamedyarov plays queen to d7, and this is the absolute top choice recommended by the engine. So now, as of move 15, we have a completely new game. How does Fabi continue this? He starts with h5, and of course it makes sense. Black can never capture, as queen captures on h7 would be checkmate, so he eliminates one of the attackers. Bishop captures on g5, bishop captures, and now rook f to e8. And now already you can sense something that we often discuss when it happens. Mamedyarov no longer has a dark square bishop. He has his pawns on light squares in front of the king, which means he has a lot of dark square weaknesses around his king, and it's not going to be easy to cover them. So Fabi has the dark square bishop, he has the queen, and it could be possible to create some sort of a checkmating attack. So h captures on g6, h captures, and bishop to f6 now. Now already you can see that maybe queen d2, queen h6, this will be checkmate. Mamedyarov needs to defend this somehow. But first there's rook captures on e1 with check, rook captures, and rook to e8. So for the moment you don't have to worry about getting checkmated. Rook to f1, Fabi avoiding the trade, and now Mamedyarov has to continue with something like queen to f5, or for a queen trade, or maybe even queen to e6, just doubling up on the e-file. But he plays a move that is weird. Knight to a6. Mamedyarov already played from b8 knight to a6, then he put it to c7, and now he brings it back to a6. And it's hard to say what the knight is doing on a6, but one thing it doesn't do is help black in any way, because here Fabi has a move that makes black's position almost unplayable. So feel free to pause this video and try to find this incredible move by Fabi while I give you a couple of seconds. So for those of you who were able to do it, congratulations on spotting this maneuvering idea. And for those of you who just want to enjoy the show, it is bishop to e5. That's the good stuff. Now, not only do we still have all of the threats here that are created if we somehow do get a mating attack, but what we actually do here, we freed up the f6 square for the white knight. Now knight to g4, knight to f6. Look at this monster for king on g8, rook on e8, queen on d7. Black just falls apart. So Mamedyarov really needs to do something about this, and it's not easy. He plays queen to e6. So one thing you want to do is get your pieces off of these squares, and now Fabi plays f4, and this is where Fabi kind of drops the ball, because queen to instead of f4, queen to g3 sort of wins the game on the spot for him, although it's not at all clear how. The point is, you are still threatening queen to h4, and the point after, let's say, knight e4 attacks the queen, queen h4, black will have to play f6, otherwise you're just going to get checkmated. We're going to play f3. And now, after pawn captures bishop, pawn captures knight, it's again an unplayable position. If the knight comes to g4, then the game is over. You have access to f6, you have access to h6. So black has to play this. We're going to play rook captures, king captures, now queen h8 check, king to e7, and queen g7 check. And that's all there is for this game. Now, if the queen blocks, we're going to start capturing on e5 with check. If the king moves, we start capturing on b7 with tempo. The knight will get attacked, and this will be completely losing for black. So, unfortunately for Fabi, he doesn't find this. He plays f4. He wants to push f5 and bust open the position. Knight to b8. This is how Mamedyarov will bring the knight back into the game. And now comes queen to a3. f5 right away is still very much playable. For example, f5, knight captures, now queen h3, going after checkmate. And there's not all that much you can do. If knight g7, just queen h6. So we have to play f6 now. And again, g4. The knight helps us create something here. For example, f captures, g captures, king h1. You get this position where white is better, but how much better? Fabi definitely decides that it is not enough. So he plays queen to a3 with a double attack on the knight here. Mamedyarov moves at knight e4, and only now that the knight no longer controls f5, Fabi pushes f5. G captures on f5. Now comes queen to h3. So Fabi was successful in opening up the king a little bit. Now he's threatening checkmate, queen to h8. So f6 has to be played. And now we have rook captures on f5. And it's a very, very tricky idea. But of course, the bishop cannot be captured. If you capture the bishop, then queen g4 check, and that's it. The king has no good squares. Once you move the king, rook h5, and that's it. Black will have to give up the queen, but you don't even have to rush it. You can play knight f3, and at will you can capture here, and your position will be completely winning. So after rook captures on f5, knight to d7, Mamedyarov slowly but surely getting this knight into the game. Bishop to f4 now. Now the bishop is no longer attacked, and white's position is just better. King to f8, Mamedyarov will now try to hide his king all the way on the queen side. We have queen a3 check, not allowing this, and now king back to g7. You could also try blocking with queen e7, probably queen to b3, then going after b7. So just putting the pressure, but it's not very serious. King g7, we have rook to h5 now, and a6, as the a7 pawn was a target. Queen to b3, going after b7, now pawn to b6. We have queen to f3, now comes rook to h8, offering a trade of rooks, and here Fabi trades. We have captures, and queen to h5 with check, king g8, queen g6 check, and now king to f8. We have knight to g4, finally the knight comes to g4, and now king to e7. Still, Mamedyarov wants to try and hide his king here on b7, and Fabi will of course try to prevent this. Knight h6, we have king to d8, knight to f7 check, we have king to e7. If you go king c8, then you get checkmated. It's very important not to do this. Knight to d8 check, forks the king and the queen, but also it's just checkmate very, very quickly. So king to e7 has to be played. Knight to h6, we have king d8, knight to f5 now, sorry. And now comes king to c8. So Mamedyarov escapes successfully with the king, but queen to g4 now, threatening a very nasty discovery here to pick up the black queen. So king back to d8. Now comes queen to h3. Queen to e8, not allowing queen to h8 check. Now comes queen to h7. We have knight to g5, attacking the queen here, and we have a trade. Captures, and queen to g7. So Fabi still putting pressure on Mamedyarov. The material is completely equal, but of course Fabi's position is much more active. Queen to e1 with check, king h2, and now luckily the knight is guarding the h4 square, otherwise it would just be a perpetual. Queen to d2, and now queen to e7 with check, king c7, we have queen d6 check, king to d8, and now knight to e7, going after the c6 pawn. There's no good way to prevent this, and queen to f2 is the safest try. Once you play queen to f2, then you are threatening this perpetual, and white will have a very hard time not allowing black to do this. But after knight, a queen captures on c2, grabbing a pawn, now Fabi definitely has more than a draw. Knight captures on c6 with check, king to c8, now comes knight e7 check, king to d8, knight to c6 check. Fabi repeats the position a few times, king to c8, and now knight to e7 with check. We have king to d8, and finally knight captures on d5, grabbing back the pawn. Queen to h7 check, king to g1, we have queen to b1 check, king h2, and queen to h7 with check. King g1, queen b1 check. If now Fabi repeats, then it's a draw by threefold repetition. So king f2, queen c2 check, now comes king to e3. We have queen to c1 with check, king d3, and now we have king to c8. But regardless of what you do, you will not be able to continue checking the king. For example, queen c1, we can move wherever we want. We can go to e4, queen e2 check. We can go knight to e3 now, and it's just not going to be possible. Or even better, after this queen to c2, we're going to go to e3. E4 allows black a bit too much here. Queen to e1, king to d3, and now after queen to d3, we can play something like king to c3. So that would be better. Queen to c1, king to b3, and we successfully hide on the queen side. Queen to d1 check, and now king to a3, queen to d3 check, and finally b3. This is how we stop all the checks. So Mamedyarov doesn't go for this. Instead, he plays king to c8. Now comes queen to e6. We have queen to f1 with check, king to c3, queen to c1 check, king b3, queen d1 check, king a3, and again we get this position where Fabi just blocks with b3. We have queen to b5, and now just king to b2, and it was in this position on move 66 that Shakhriyar Mamedyarov resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. You don't have a check here. E2 square is covered by the queen, and whatever you try, let's say you play a5, we just have to get the black queen to stop defending the knight here, and it's game over. We succeeded this by playing a4, and now the queen can no longer keep defending the knight. Once the queen moves, we play queen e8 check, and that's it. The c7 square is covered by the knight. You have to move. This falls with check, king to b8 or whatever, queen to c7 check, king a8, knight captures on b6, and that's it. We force black to give up the queen, and now of course we will checkmate the black king. Luckily for us, black has a g-pawn. If black did not have a g-pawn, this would of course be stalemate. The black king has nowhere to go, but luckily he does, so we don't have to worry about such things. But yeah, after king to b2, Mamedyarov resigned, and wonderful victory for Fabiano Caruana. Now, I'm sure this was some elaborate preparation by Mamedyarov, but this repeated knight to a6 idea, and I mean knight to a6 to c7 to a6 to b8, really weird stuff. That's 4 moves that allowed Fabi to just seize the initiative with bishop to e5, grabbing hold of this key f6 square, and that's basically the story of this game. Fabi did not play the absolute perfect lines, and Mamedyarov did have some opportunities to get back into the game, but still, here this is just another example of even though the engine might suggest that the strongest move would be to give up black's dark square bishop, but here you can just see how inconvenient it is for a human to play this, because it's just very unnatural to create weaknesses around your king and give up your dragon, basically. So that's not very hard to play. I mean, if you like this, you can play it, but I would not play this. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Also, here are the standings if you missed the previous video. So the leader of the tournament is Wesley So with a current score of 3.5 points, followed by 3 people with 3 points: Levon Arunian, Maxim Vashola-Grav, and Bogdan Daniel Deac. Fabi and Yanni Pomnici with 2.5. With 2 points, Alireza Firuja, Richard Rapport, and Linier Dominguez. And in the last place for the moment with 1.5 point, Shakhriyar Mamedyarov, who is not having a great tournament, but still 4 rounds left in the tournament. Anything can still happen. So yeah, once again, really hope you guys enjoyed it. I would like to wish a very happy birthday to Rodolfo, NRC LB, and I would like to thank Claudio Bovelli and Alessandro Bossi, Yogesh Patki donating because it is the strongest move, Per Solbaken, and Tarek Adalal for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot, I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you all for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing the coverage of this magnificent event until it finishes. So thank you all. I will see you soon and have an excellent rest of your day.